Pratiksha here. So this is a quick video to revise some important immunofluorescence photographs in renal path. And it's important because it actually will help you understand the disease process and findings in even other modalities. But before I begin immunofluorescence, I want to clarify a few things. What do you see on each modality that we use in different in evaluation of a glomerular disorder? There seems to be a bit of confusion because you keep giving random answers to whenever we ask you something on immunofluorescence or something on electron microscopy. So I thought I'll just quickly review that what is it that we see on each investigation. First investigation is always light microscopy, and in light microscopy the first stain we'll do will be our routine hematoxylin and eosin stain. We will also perform special stains like a PAS stain, silver stain, which will highlight basement membrane and other parts of the glomerulus in better contrast for us to appreciate if something is wrong there. So what all can we comment on a light microscopy picture? Cellularity, if there is any basement membrane thickening, if there is an increase in the mesangial area, and silver and PAS stain will let us know if there is anything wrong with the basement membrane. Please remember that you do not see any deposits on light microscopy. So don't go around answering subepithelial deposits on HNA. All right. Next, we perform direct immunofluorescence. That means we directly target something that has been deposited in the glomerulus. Remember, the photographs will have a fluorescent green color on a black background. And of all the things that you can see in a renal biopsy, tubules, interstitium, we focus on the glomerulus because we are evaluating a glomerular disorder. And different substances can be deposited depending on the kind of immune action that has taken place. So immunoglobulins of different types, especially IgG, IgA, complements of alternate classical pathway, and other things like kappa chain, lambda chain can be targeted by antibodies, and then we see whether they are deposited and where are they deposited in the glomerulus. Again, please remember, we don't see the site of the deposits. What you are seeing is a pattern. Of course, deposits are being highlighted, but it's not the site which will become very obvious as much as it would on the next investigation, and that is electron microscopy. So electron microscopy pictures will be in shades of black, gray, and white, and the deposits seen will be subepithelial, subendothelial, so that actual location of the deposits will be clear on electron microscopy. Immunofluorescence will give you an idea, but you cannot always be 100% sure because the same pattern could occur due to different sites of deposits, right? So to call it subepithelial, subendothelial, we need to see them, and to see them will be the best mechanism through a best modality would be electron microscopy. So do not comment on subepithelial, subendothelial on either light microscopy or immunofluorescence. Save that for an electron microscopy modality. And of course, basement membrane thickening can be seen on electron microscopy as now, direct immunofluorescence is performed on renal biopsy, a glomerular disorder, against three immunoglobulins, IgG, IgA, IgM most commonly, two complements, C3 and C1q. We do it also for fibrin, fibrinogen to see if there's been any activation, and light chains, lambda and kappa. So this is what usually a renal immunofluorescence panel would. What do we comment on? We comment on whether there is something there. So whether it's positive, whether it's negative, if it's granular, linear, or if it's not there at all. So is it absent? And if it is granular, we make a point to notice whether that granularity is against the capillary, is along the capillary loops, is it in the mesangium, or is it in both areas? So within the glomerulus, you'll have the capillary loops, between the capillary loops, mesangium, between angium. So between the capillary loops will be the mesangial area. So is the green coarseness that I'm seeing, the granularity that I'm seeing, is it along the capillary loops or is it in the mesangium, or is it in both areas? So this is the checklist for a renal immunofluorescence. Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it granular? Is it linear? Is it absent? If it's granular, where is the granularity? Right? So with this background, let's look at a couple of photographs. There are three patterns of direct immunofluorescence that you can see in kidney. The first is, as you can see here, this one. In your mind, you can answer So this is the second one, and this is the third one. So the first one is a ribbon-like positivity, isn't it? It looks like very nicely ribbons are, spread across the glomerulus. It's continuous. It is regular. So this is a linear pattern. And this tells me that whatever my target was, it is along the entire basement membrane, which means this is for anti-GBM antibodies. So remember, in your head, you should think ribbon, 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 and in the question, you will answer linear. In the next photograph, I'm sure you can compare with the first photograph, and you can tell that there is a weird coarse texture to the greenness. It's not continuous. It's not regular. It's like I said, the texture, if you could describe it, would be coarse. So this is granular immunofluorescence, and this is when immune complexes are deposited on either sides of the capillary loops or in the mesangium, and then we see even further, like I told you, where the granularity is focused. And this is an absent, which is classically seen in ANCA-mediated pauci-immune. Reason we call it pauci-immune is because on renal immunofluorescence, you're not really seeing any kind of deposits, right? So linear, granular, absent, anti-GBM, everything else, and anti-neutrophil cytoplasmic antibody-mediated damage. Now look at this photograph in front of you. Can you see that regularity? Can you see it looks like how those ballerinas take those ribbons and, really pretty pastel ribbons. I don't know if you guys remember or can recall. So it has that kind of regularity to it, that kind of beautiful ribbon-like, texture to it. So this is linear immunofluorescence. What about this one? Can you make out instantly that it's got a coarse texture? So this is a granular immunofluorescence. But more importantly, now that you know what else to look for, can you also tell that there seems to be some kind of like focus around the capillary loops more than anywhere else, right? So this is a granular immunofluorescence focused around the capillary loops. So maybe this is because of subepithelial deposits, which would be around the capillary loops, or subendothelial deposits again around the capillary loops. So granular immunofluorescence. Now look at this one. Can you make out that kind of regularity is still missing? So this is not linear, this is granular. But can you also make out that the granularity is between the capillaries? It's in the mesangium. So this is granular immunofluorescence, but a mesangial pattern of immunofluorescence. And this one, see, can you make out that it's in both? You can see highlighted capillary loops also. The greenness is in the capillary loops as well, and in the mesangium as well. So this is clearly because of a disease that has affected both, right? So linear, granular can be just capillary, just mesangium, or both. So whenever you have a renal disorder, I'm going to do quickly a couple of cases for you. So renal disease, nephritic or nephrotic. Location of disease activity is important. What part of the glomerulus seems to be involved? What is the pattern of immunofluorescence? The immunofluorescence is positive for what? Is it IgG, IgA, C3, C1q? And where is it positive, right? So location of disease activity, what part is involved, where is it positive, what is the pattern, and what is it positive for? This is your checklist. Now let's quickly revise a few cases. If it's Goodpasture syndrome, the location of disease activity is GBM. The pattern of immunofluorescence will be linear. The DIF will be positive for DIF diffuse direct immunofluorescence will be positive for IgG mostly. And where is it going to be positive? Along the capillary, the basement membrane, glomerular basement membrane, linear pattern. Next, IgA nephropathy. Location of disease activity, you have mesangial deposits here. Second, the pattern will be granular, but in the mesangium. DIF will be again positive, but for IgA, hence IgA nephropathy. And where is DIF positive? In the mesangium. Suppose you have the same picture, but there's also symptomology of a systemic vasculitis, say in a child with purpura in the trunk or lower limbs. So that would be Henoch-Schönlein purpura, HSP. So IgA nephropathy, IgA vasculitis, which is the new name for HSP. So that becomes a spectrum. The findings would be similar in the kidney. Lupus nephritis, so location of disease activity is everywhere. It could be subepithelial, subendothelial, mesangial deposits, depending on the class of lupus it is. Pattern of immunofluorescence would be granular. DIF would be positive for everything, both the complements and all three immunoglobulins. So when you do a panel, you will see greenness everywhere. You know what's that called? It's called full house immunofluorescence. Everything is positive, so that's a full house immunofluorescence. And where is the DIF positive? In the capillary loops and in the mesangium. MPGN type 1, membranoproliferative type 1. The disease activity is subendothelial deposits more than mesangial deposits. The pattern of immunofluorescence is granular. DIF is positive for C3 mostly. And where is DIF positive? Capillary walls and mesangium. So it would have a mixed granularity. Membranous nephropathy, this is subepithelial deposits. So subepithelial deposits would give you granular immunofluorescence. It would be IgG more than C3, and DIF would be, since it's subepithelial, that means around the capillary loop. So you won't have mesangial positivity, you will have around the capillary positivity. So you recall that picture we'd seen initially, that was probably for membranous nephropathy. Post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis, this classically at the time of presentation has subepithelial deposits. Pattern would be granular. It's a little more coarse as compared to membranous. DIF is again positive for IgG more than C3. And again, since it's subepithelial, you would have it around the capillary loops. And this coarseness of the granular immunofluorescence is also given another name. It's called starry sky immunofluorescence. Please do not confuse it with starry sky appearance of high-grade lymphomas like Burkitt. That is on HNE and that is in a lymphoma. This is on immunofluorescence seen in PSGN. So coming to the stories that I shared on Instagram, renal live series, I give you 4 images. Let's see if you got them correct. So this first pattern, which pattern of renal IF is seen? What's your answer? Your answer is linear because of anti-GBM antibodies. This was the second case. So can you make out that this pattern is granular and it is more around the capillary loop. This is the third case. Which part of the glomerulus shows granular? So I already told you that this is granular and I asked you where it is. So now you can tell this is in the mesangium. And the last case, this I have not discussed in this video, but it's quite typical. It's fibrin. So there is clearly fibrin deposition in the kidney, in the glomerulus, and can all of you make out it's in the form of a crescent. So this is a crescent. Crescentic glomerulonephritis. There I can give the diagnosis. This is RPGN. Now, just as an added extra edge, in a transplanted kidney, an allograft, in a transplanted kidney also when rejected, we do immunofluorescence to look for something. So it's an antibody mediated humoral rejection. When we are looking at immunofluorescence, we are looking for antibody mediated humoral rejection. So because of activation of complement, there are degradation products of complement 4 deposited, which bind to the endothelium of the capillary loops. So we check it via immunofluorescence. We look for C4D deposition, and this is usually seen around the peritubular capillaries, and we use this for grading of rejection. This is just an extra point for everyone that in a transplanted kidney, we look for C4D, degradation product of C4, to grade rejection. So to summarize, whenever you get a renal biopsy, a glomerular disorder, look at the history. See if it's nephritic, if it's nephrotic. Second, you look at light microscopy along with special stains, if any, and then you look at immunofluorescence. You get an idea of the pattern, you get an idea of where it is, and you also should see what it is. Because if it's IgA, you know what direction to go to. And then you combine all of them and you get the diagnosis. So this video was to summarize immunofluorescence of kidney for you. I tried to discuss as many cases as possible for easy identification. Of course, this is not it for the glomerular disorders, but I hope you can add this to your current knowledge and use it for revision. So look forward to more stories and more discussions like this. All the very best.